So sorry, we were all just back here having our own conversations. I'd like to call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. We have an invocation by Pastor Conley.
Let's bow our heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today and we are so thankful. God, thank you for this wonderful city that we live in. God, for the men and women who are here that help to lead and guide us. As we talk today, God, I pray that you would give us the wisdom and the discernment that we need. And God, we trust you for all these things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Roll call.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Lisa. Mike. Please stand and join Vice Mayor Gillespie in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I had,
Yes, I had one too.
was it on there? Did she put it on there? Is it H?
You wanted the
Let me
one about
see.
the number of youth. One of you did.
Okay, we're going to pull H for discussion, and
It was yeah, that was it. That was mine.
Lisa, what was yours?
And mine was the trouble.
So that was at the beginning.
Yeah, A.
A.
Yeah, that was corrected.
Oh, it was corrected. Then I'm not gonna be pulling it.
Okay,
Thank you
okay.
for correcting that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve minus item H.
I move to approve the consent agenda minus item H.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. Item H is approval of and authorization to execute an amended professional transportation services contract with the Metropolitan Tulsa Transit Authority to provide public transportation services for the remainder of fiscal year 23-24. Vice Mayor?
And the only reason that I asked for this to be pulled was just because I think it's a great initiative that we're doing, and I just wanted to highlight the microtransit program that we're going to be starting very soon. And I don't know if there's anybody that wanted to share about it. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, Mr. Spurgeon. In 2005, Tulsa Transit, we entered a contract with Tulsa Transit to begin servicing the Broken Arrow area. Subsequent years, we've moved forward. In 2018, we added the express route, which runs a fixed route through Broken Arrow and then a route nonstop to downtown Tulsa. With these amendments, what we're going to be doing is we'll be able to offer our citizens the opportunity to pick up the phone or use the app, request a ride. It'll show up kind of like an Uber for $1.75. You can ride anywhere within our boundaries for this pilot program. It's about a 17 square mile area kind of through the center of Broken Arrow. We want to use this as a pilot to see, where we can expand in the future. We're still going to have the express route. This can drop you off at that stop for the express route, which means that's a transfer. So for $1.75, they'll pick you up from your house, drop you at the express route station. You can jump on the express route bus and ride in downtown Tulsa. And conversely, you can do it the other way around too. So we anticipate a launch date of March 18th. We've been putting out some notices for the people that utilize the service that we have now, so that they're aware and ready to move forward with the program. So do you have any questions? I'm happy to answer.
No, just excited to get it started.
Can we just make sure the senior center gets it as soon as possible so they can get the information, so they can put it in their newsletter? Because I know she was looking for
Yeah.
a little more specific.
So we've had some training courses with the senior center to kind of show them how to utilize that. We've
Okay.
also got some barcodes, or some QR links that people can scan with their phone that will take you into the app so that you can get more information about it. So trying to spread that
We'll
word a
teach
little
them how
bit,
to scan.
right?
We might need to do that.
So,
So I have a question. So $1.75, if someone gets picked up from their house to go, if there's a grocery store within that, they could go to the grocery store and then call again? Would they have to pay
it'd
another
be a
$1.75?
subsequent ride, yeah.
So is it, but I thought it was like a 3-hour period. So is that right or no?
There's
Am
nothing
I-
in that contract language at this point.
Okay.
We will be renegotiating the contract in just a couple of months because
Okay.
our annual contract will be due.
Okay.
So what we were hoping was if we could launch this before that time, we could have some data to work forward with.
Okay. That makes
So that's
sense.
what we're trying to do right now, is really collect. And again, it's that 17-mile, roughly 17 square mile area. So your pickup and drop off will be within that range.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we've made sure both hospitals are also, even though they're outside that 17 square mile area, those are drop points.
Okay.
We can drop you at the hospital. So things like that, we've tried to kind of include in that pilot service so that people aren't excluded from being able to utilize that. Also, the St. Francis South is also a pickup center to catch other buses that will take you into downtown Tulsa or other parts of Tulsa as well. So.
I did have one question, but you've already answered it. It came up actually in Rotary on Monday, and it was if the Express, if you could Uber or,
Right.
ours to the Express and do it, and you answered that question. So
Yeah.
if he's not watching, I'll make sure he knows that, yes.
Absolutely, and tell them, if someone has, more in-depth questions, please tell them to feel free to reach out to staff. We'll be more than happy to help. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If I can, Mayor, I just want to thank the council members for being supportive of this. The Vice Mayor has a couple of times given a very impassionate example of why this was important. People have had to leave our community because of lack of access. And so having this pilot program is going to be an incredible opportunity for our citizens within certain times and days to be able to get around to get those basic services. Right now, they may struggle to have to find someone. And so I just want to say thank you to that and the committee and all the staff members who put this together. And communications will be working very hard to put the word out about during the launch and through the entire pilot program. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I will move to approve item H.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Oh, can I? No, it is. I just
There it goes.
didn't realize I could, it was my fault.
All right. Item 7 is public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, and awards. 7A is presentation and annual programming update by the Broken Arrow Historical Society and Genealogy Society. Lori Hill.
That's very true.
My phone went off in that meeting yesterday, last night, and I tried to run away, but I sat right in the middle.
You were sitting in front, so.
Everybody knew it was me. But it wasn't tonight.
I was going to say, I can kind of get used to having some theme music as I come up and do a presentation. I am here this evening to introduce the item for the annual presentation for the Museum Broken Arrow and the Genealogical Society. But before I bring them up, right before the council meeting, we had the opportunity to introduce ourselves to the new executive director of the History Museum, Miss Jana Rogers. And her bio is quite impressive, so if you don't mind, I'd like to read a few parts of it. Ms. Rogers' doctorate is in U.S. history with a focus in public history, including a graduate certificate in museum and cultural studies. Ms. Rogers will complete her doctorate with summa cum laude honors bestowed upon her by the Oklahoma State University in May of this year. Her passion for history and the arts traced to an earlier career as marketing director for the Diane Woodruff Museum and Art Galleries. During that time, she also served as an ambassador for Philbrick Museum of Art while sitting on the Community Volunteer Board. Ms. Rogers is the founder of Oklahoma Native American Network Cross-Cultural Forums and understands herself as a steward of shared history. She interned with the Gilcrease Anthropology Department and conducted research for the Stillwater History Museum. As a graduate research assistant, Ms. Rogers worked with special collections and university archives at Edmund Lowe Library, managing the Maxine and Jack Zero art collection, while working with the metadata and a team of experts who produced a web portal for accessing the catalog online. Ms. Rogers pulls from a wealth of experience and brings creative ideas to serve the people of Broken Arrow. She emphasizes that the Museum Broken Arrow is one of the many assets that inspire people to call this community their home. She looks forward to exploring unique ways of experiencing history and inviting the public to make the museum one of their favorite locations. So with that being said, I'd like to bring up soon-to-be Dr. Jana Rogers, and then she has Allie Cloud with her as well. Allie is one of the museum employees, and then Jay Yeager is also here with the Genealogical Society, and they will provide their update, which I've provided each one of you a copy of. So.
Thank you for the introduction. That's very humbling and a little bit embarrassing. It's been very hard work, but worthwhile journey. I just wanted to say good evening first to Mayor Wimpy and Vice Mayor Gillespie. It's the first time that I've met them this evening. Also to City Manager Spurgeon, City Council persons, and the museum, Broken Arrow staff, board volunteers, and the artists who have been so supportive of my very short journey here, the Broken Arrow community and all the public who have come to be supportive of us. What I thought I might share with you, since this is about my 4th week now in the position, I just wanted to share a couple of numbers with you. In January, our admissions numbers, the people that came into the museum, was a total of 158 visitors. In the month of February, which is the month that I came on board, the increase was to 569, but please let me stress that wasn't because I came on board at the museum. It's because of the community outreach that we've done to the community and their support and response to us, and also because of the dedication of the staff that we have. We're only a 3-member staff, and have been leaning on them for their support and their institutional knowledge. So please know that that increase of numbers is because of teamwork. And I just wanted to share with you a little bit of what we're planning. Next week, we're reaching out and collaborating with the Shirar Miller Museum of Jewish History, or Jewish Art, excuse me, in Tulsa. And we're going to look at doing a collaborative installation about Broken Arrow and Oklahoma pioneers and settlers, and look at the ethnicities of those people. With the Jewish people, for example, their presence here in Broken Arrow in Oklahoma, what became Oklahoma, traces back to 1850. And so I just want to amplify a deeper look at who are these settlers and pioneers. They were immigrants from many countries, first generation Americans in many circumstances, but very interesting history. So we're doing collaborative work that will increase our numbers and revenue streams, not only for the museum, but also for the Rose District and for Broken Arrow in general. So there's a lot of projects like that in the works, and I'll be able to share more details with you as they unfold. But I would like to introduce someone that I think we all are familiar with, Allie Cloud. However, I'd like to introduce her with her new title at the museum, which is Education Coordinator.
Oh, nice. Hi, Council. Hi, Mayor Wimpy. Hi, Vice Mayor Gillespie. I'm very honored to have this position, thanks to Jana. As the education coordinator, I will be creating programming to go into the schools and develop Broken Arrow history, develop walking tours for the Rose District, and then hopefully for further around Broken Arrow, hit some of the hot spots for history. I hope to really develop the Broken Arrow, how they helped in World War II, and that's kind of my expertise right now. And I'm very grateful that I am able to be here and standing here, and not as a youth city councilor, as I was a youth city councilor. And I'm very grateful for my time in youth city council, because I probably, and to be honest, wouldn't have been able to do all this without that. So, thank you.
You're going to do amazing.
Yay.
All right. Is that it? Do you have any discussion?
I do.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a discussion now. And this is really good, so look at this positively. You know, I'm the member on the board of the History Museum, and I love it. It's kind of like home for me. Not only the artifacts, which were really the same age as I am probably, but with the individuals that's involved. But I still have a responsibility as a city councilman, because I'm a city councilman representative on there. So I would like to read the following. The working board at the History Museum, great people working together, spending many hours with a project they appreciate and devoted to, maintaining the history of our city. Now, I've been on a lot of boards, and I've heard about working boards. I never knew exactly what a working board was until I got on this board that Ina talked me into getting on. And they really are a working board. I mean, I don't have time to be a city councilman on that board. They do work, and they might set goals, and then they go after it and work after it. They have a lot of volunteers, so I was really impressed with it. The original cost of the building that they're in was $2,214,950. And that was around 2004. 1.6 million of that were ad valorem taxes voted on the GO bond, and 568,000 was from Vision 25. And I bring this up to let you know that I'm a little bit concerned that we maintain our relationship between the board there and the city of Broken Arrow. So the total was $2.2 million. This year, the council has budgeted $700,000 plus to replace 3 air conditioners and heaters at the center. That's not a bond issue. That's coming out of the city's budget. That's not, I didn't need any applause. That's just for information. We're also looking, and the city manager always brings this up, that's the marketing side of him, the 2026 bond issue expansion, which is a possible $4 to $6 million expansion for the History Museum, which is good and great to work with. So what I want to talk about for a second is the public and private partnership. I do not agree with the comment made at the last museum board meeting, no one can tell the History Museum what to do because they are a nonprofit. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits and worked with the city, and the city would tell us that we need to do this or do that, and we've worked well together. So that didn't sit well with me. I'd like to be able to get along. No one can tell the History Museum what to do because they are a nonprofit. The city has a yearly contract with the History Museum for the museum to occupy the citizen-owned building. That contract makes us partners, a public-private partnership partners. The building committee under Gary Gerber's guidance, leadership, working with the city's representatives, Lori Hill and Ryan Bays, has worked hard so that there would be no question who was providing what and when to maintain the building. Now to the issue of assure compliance. The contract states that the following, within the limitations of a nonprofit 501c3 organization, licensee may charge an annual membership fee, activities, user fees, and hold periodic fundraiser events in order to cover its operating expenses, in order to assure compliance with licensee status. The city reserves the right to examine licensees' financial statements upon request. So that's part of the contract, that we have the right to check the center's finances, have our people look at your people, in other words. Part of the city councilor's job as a representative of the city is to review financial statements, as to provide fiduciary responsibility for the city and their accounting staff. The museum board, as most boards, do have the responsibility to know where and how expenses are made. Where's the money going? Where's it coming from? The treasury report. They, the board, should have advanced time and opportunity to question expenditures and receivables for that matter. I have not received a good flow of financial statements since I've been on the board. Lack of sequential income and expenditure monthly report. I know the reason why. We've had a big turnover of individuals, board and staff, and I know that creates a problem, and it has created a situation. I am going to recommend to the staff of the city visit with the museum representatives and implement the following. The licensee shall furnish the city with a copy of an approved financial review conducted by independent accounting firm no later than 270 days of the end of the licensee's current fiscal year. Additionally, if requested by the city, a full financial audit shall be provided by the licensee. Now, this is normal. This is exactly, I took this off of the senior board of theirs. So the city's not asking anything differently that they don't ask for the city. But, from the senior board. But I'm just saying, as a councilman, for me to serve on there, if one of the other councilmen served on there, we have to have information. I have to be able to pass the information on to the city manager and the rest of the council. That's my duty to do that. So I can't be told that the city cannot tell us what to do because your contract shows that it does. And we do provide the maintenance on it and on the building. And it shows what we do. And so we tell you that we have to do that. You can't change the locks on the doors. Those are things that the city say. So I just want us to continue working together. I think it's been a great relationship. Now Ina's a good friend again because I do enjoy it. But I'm just telling you that we need to work on those follow-up of that paperwork because it's important to the city and it's important to me. I don't want to look bad.
May I speak?
Sure.
I want to say with all due respect, I've been on the board for about 6 months prior to this position. I don't recall that statement that you do recall. That's not to say it wasn't said, but I don't recall that, not during the board meetings or ever in my involvement with the museum. In contrast, and that's not our ethos. That's our ethos. That's not our ideology at the museum. In fact, even behind closed doors, our conversations have been that there's a long history with a cloud that has been hovering in this relationship between the museum and the city, and that it is time to move beyond that. And I feel like the reception this evening was a huge gesture on behalf of the city to acknowledge that and say, let's move forward. I'm certainly willing to and interested. So is our board, so is our staff. If there's anything that I can do, please reach out to me. I do know that Dr. Betty Gerber and Dr. Gary Gerber have been working diligently around the clock to review all of our finances and get those documents in order so that we can present those. So, please do stay in communication with us about that. But I would like to, more than anything, reiterate that not only my leadership, but when I was on the board, only as a board member, our only desire was to move beyond the past relationships and tensions and build a healthy relationship so that we can prosper not only as the museum, but prosper in relationships with the city and with the community. And we have seen great improvement in just a matter of months. And I want to be a part of that and facilitate that. And I made, when Mr. Spurgeon and I first met at our first meeting, I told him that I will be supportive of this city, and I know that we will receive that support back from you, and that has already taken place in just a matter of weeks that I've been here and seen it, but it was happening before I came. So thank you for that, but please, Councilman Parks, I do respectfully wish to go on record saying I don't recall that statement that you heard at the meeting, but we are supportive, we will be supportive. And if there are any documents in particular that you need from us, please let us know that and give us time to get those together. But truly, both Dr. Gerbers have been working so hard to get those in order to present to you.
I appreciate that, and I know they have. I know they've worked hard on it, and I've tried to get above the cloud, you know what I mean, also.
We will.
And that's
we will
one of the
get there
reasons
together.
that I wanted to make the comment. And the comment was made at the last board meeting, so it wasn't like you have to go back a long ways in the record. At the last board meeting, that no one can tell the History Museum what to do because we're a nonprofit, okay?
That is not our ethos or our ideology, I want to assure
Okay.
you.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I think,
Thanks, Johnny.
We got the genealogy folks want to give
yes,
us an
Jay
update
wants
too.
to speak as well. Give an
Shall we sit
update.
down now?
Sure.
Thank
Or
you.
you can
Thank
stand
you.
with her, either way.
Mayor, would you recognize Dr. Gerber?
How do we do that?
Is that,
I mean, it's up to, it's up.
yeah, you can, sure.
What I wanted to say is we have.
Can you come on?
what I wanted to say is that we've worked extremely hard in the last 6 months to basically audit our finances. This month I've spent taking quotes from financial accounting companies, and we are going to begin to do that through a financial accounting company. We did have a 3-hour-a-week sort of accountant that was working from home, but she doesn't want to do that anymore, so this was kind of a perfect opportunity for us to move into a little more stringent accounting, and so that's what we are doing. With regard to the comment from a board member, we did have one more board member who did say that, and I will agree with that. That happened at the last meeting. When you get into board meetings, you know, there's a lot of give and take, and not everybody feels the same on some of those issues, and I think that's what we had there. But that person is welcome to their opinion. So as are all of you in your meetings. So that's exactly what happened. And Johnny, I do apologize for that. Our intent and our goal is to work collaboratively, and I think we've shown that in ample ways in the last year, maybe 2 years. So.
And we've worked hard, and changes
we
have taken place.
Right.
And it's good. That's why I was not pleased with
Right.
the comment or even the vote at that time.
Yeah.
I just need some type of,
Sure.
you know what I mean, financial statements.
Right.
You know
And
what I mean?
I will say this too, we are audited every year. We do have an auditing firm that audits our finances, and we can provide those right away if you want those. The audits are a year behind, so we're finishing the 2022 audit, and then we'll do the 2023 this year, so.
And I haven't seen anything to indicate that I was worried about anything.
Yeah.
It's just that I know what the process,
Sure.
you know what I mean, should be.
Yeah.
And people can definitely have their opinion, but Johnny
Yeah.
just stated what our contract says, so.
Right,
Now we
right,
know.
and that is the operating agreement, and that's what our building committee is for, is discuss those things. That's where it should have been brought in
Yeah.
and discussed, so,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing. All right. Ms. J? Gonna pull that mic down a little bit.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Wimpy, Mr. Spurgeon. Broken Arrow Genealogical Society, I measured when Gary began to talk about the bond issue, and it is a 24 by 24 room that I measured myself. So it is in the museum. It is a separate 501c3, and I'm taking to heart everything I'm hearing. We have a budget of less than $10,000 and a membership that is struggling to do what it's done for a lot of years. The climate for reception of genealogy has changed over time, and we're trying to revitalize and bring identity. So let me talk a little bit about that. I see us as a hospitality service for Broken Arrow. We schedule 12 hours a week on the weeks that the museum is open, and so that means 548 actual service hours in 2023. Additionally, we do quite a bit of individual research, and I say quite a bit because it's, with the requests that we receive, we give 6 to 8 hours worth of study to an individual question. So it is not a piece of cake. There's no tree that magically appears. We look at original documents, etc. I talk about our open quarterly meetings with study topics, and they're listed. I also, during the last year, spent 5 weeks in a workshop format for the Senior Center to look into methods of writing family stories from your genealogy research. We had a wonderful first week reception, and then 8 people that dug in to do the work. We also see ourselves as a community outreach, and appreciate Justin Green joining our board in August 2023. There are several, there are reaching out to lineage groups, heritage groups, patriotic groups Children of the American Revolution is fledgling, although it's existed in Broken Arrow for a long time. It almost disappeared, and it was revitalized a year ago, and it meets sometimes in the library itself. Frankly, it's under my guardianship, having inherited it quickly last December. However, we've got new membership, and we've got the Sons of the American Revolution joining us in the board, so it is not strictly just Daughters of the American Revolution idea. Creekland's chapter of DAR frequently holds their meeting in the library. During the BA Historical Museum's September reception of the Oklahoma Museum Association last fall, we reached out and shared the evening and invited people into the library and met with Stephanie Scott, director of the Chickasaw Cultural Center. You'll understand, among the guests, she was outstanding for our sake. We explored, by a trip to Okmulgee, the Muskogee Cultural Center as well, to meet with Midge Dellinger, an oral historian for the Muskogee Creek, and with Melissa Harjo-Muffer, the archivist. In May 2023, we presented to the state Oklahoma DAR workshop a program that was initiated about 2 years ago by our current national president, and that is to do specialty research into groups that had not been appropriately recognized or identified for DAR membership. They are a variety of groups, and Native American was identified as one of the research specialty. In Oklahoma, it's a key question. It's a vital question. 39 tribes or nations are recognized in Oklahoma. So out our doorstep, there is a population that we have a great interest in. And the question is it possible in Oklahoma to find descendants of patriots of the American Revolution who are Native American descendants? That's an obscure question. That's a difficult question. We've spent several months at that already. But it's not impossible. I would say one famous name, Nancy Ward, is a Cherokee woman, patriot, and she has descendants in Oklahoma. So we know that it's doable. We're just on the way. This magazine is just not even out for the mail delivery yet, but it is the American Spirit. It's the national magazine of DAR. And this month, there's an article mentioning Broken Arrow and mentioning the fact that we're looking in Oklahoma to become a center of the research that I'm talking about. There will be, and there is already, a database available, and we will begin that collection of information that heretofore has not been gathered in a place, particularly looking at our borders, because it's a big question, just doing that for Oklahoma. If I could talk to you about our assets, I've already talked about our budget. But in 2023-24, we've had 120 volumes, and these are hardback books by donors, Mrs. Harold Tidings and Don Mitchell, honoring their spouses. I estimate the value, if I were to purchase on Amazon or any other book vendor, that the value is at least $2,000 to go out and spend the money. Some of the books are not any longer in print or obtainable. So we have added to the collection in this last year at a tremendous value in terms of that asset. We have stable banking. Dr. Richard Polk is our treasurer at present. And 3,000 of that small budget has been put into a CD, interest bearing, because it was just being handled as a bank and a checking account. And we're in the process of looking at what the bond issue means for the library itself. At the front of the page that you were handed is a logo that you've seen before. We used it last year. But I do want to invite you to the April 11th public meeting of the members plus the community, in which Dr. Richard Polk and I will share a program about the early, very early medical care in Broken Arrow. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you very much.
Well, I just want to say I'm glad that you're on the board. Have we had someone on the board before
we
on the
had.
council? So that's, my mom, I don't know if she still even volunteers, Virginia Harris. So she used to volunteer at your society and help, I think, like the 5th week or something of the month. And I do remember, I mean, I know you all are struggling, or at least were then. I helped her write a grant. I think we got 3 years of internet service paid for through a grant that I had helped her write. So if there's anything, Justin, that I can help maybe even to help build up, because I am a member of the Daughters of American Revolution. We do meet there and we appreciate that. So I know you have a lot of really good things amongst the walls. I haven't checked them out, but my mom could tell you all about it. But thank you for coming and presenting to us, because I think a lot of people don't know about that little gym, and like she said, they're standalone, so they still have to have their own liability insurance, they have to have their own internet, so they have all those expenses even within
20 by 24.
Yes, even in their little 24 by 24 space. So yes, so anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Mayor, real quick.
Yep.
My mom is big into genealogy. She said that bond package better include something next time. She's probably watching. Now, with in April, I'll carve out a week, and I'll meet with all the individual user groups with them, and probably representing from Jacobs, to actually hear what they're proposing, and then come back to council. So this is really just like a 2-minute warning for Jana and Dr. Garber and the folks from the genealogy that we'll be getting together sometime late next month, early May, to actually review what they're proposing, so we can start putting estimates together. Okay.
Thank you. All right. If there's any action to be taken. No. Okay. So item 7B is consideration, discussion, and possible action on an appeal for property owner Adam Macon at 204 West Pittsburgh Place to allow a short-term rental property to be licensed within 300 radius of another established short-term rental. Amanda.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. Tonight before you, we have an appeal to a staff decision to deny a license request for a short-term rental. This property is located in the mile south of the Rose District. So the zoning ordinance does require that all short-term rentals be separated by a minimum of 300 feet per the ordinance. The only exception to that is within the 1 square mile of downtown in the Rose District. So when Mr. Macon put in his request to verify the distance requirement, it did come back that there was another short-term rental already licensed within that 300-foot radius. So based on that radius, staff did deny the request for a license. So Mr. Macon would like to make his case and appeal to you.
Okay.
Thank you, City Councilors. As Amanda mentioned, my name is Adam Macon. I've been a Broken Arrow resident for the past 8 years. I'm a physician assistant. My wife and family live in Seven Oaks, so about 5 minutes away from our short-term rental property. She mentioned the ordinance that has been a conflict with our short-term rental. I do want to set the case, and there's a document up there that I can go through a timeline. I've done a lot of research since that call on February 13th from Chris saying, hey, first time ever, but we're gonna have to deny your short-term rental based on this 300-foot ordinance. So I do have a timeline, and there's been, I know, a lot of discussion over the years. We'll go back to 2019 about short-term rentals and how they're going to affect the community or not, positively, negatively. So starting in 2019, I emailed Larry Curtis, And he got back to me, because I was just wondering where we stood at this location. Were we going to be type 1, type 2, so on and so forth? He said, I talked with Ms. Wyrick, and it looks like at your location currently it's type 1. Well, of course, that kind of throws everything out the door for that residence, because that, as you know, is a rent-a-room. That wasn't going to work. So that was the first contact. And then a couple years later, in August of 2021, there was an amendment. By that time, my location was actually determined to be allotted for a type 2. So that's one check. We could be a type 2. But when you look at an amendment to Ordinance 3706, August 16th of 2021, there was a parking ordinance that stated you had to have one parking space for every bedroom plus one for the owner. Our property is 3-bedroom, no garage, because the garage was made into a game room. So we have 2 parking spaces. Well, of course, that would not work. We're not even close to the amount of parking spaces for that regulation at that time. 1 month later, nearby property that did have the parking was permitted. So right there, and that from inception until this time, there hasn't been a time that my wife and I could have obtained a permit. So we do fast forward to April 24th, and the ordinances 3779, 3778, kind of where we stand right now with short-term rentals. And everything would be good except for the fact that you can't have one short-term rental within 300 feet. And as Amanda mentioned, we're close to the downtown overlay, but we're not quite there. But my case, I guess my main argument is we never had a chance. So if we go back through the ordinances and how everything's played out, and I don't think that the city's plan has been to be like retroactively punitive against short-term rental, because my wife and I were probably one of the first 20, did a lot of research on it, and one of the first 20 short-term rentals in the town. But it turns out now we've never truly had a shot to become permitted. Passed our inspection the first try and all that, but that call from Chris kind of sparked all my research here today. I was even looking back to 2005 when City of Broken Arrow was talking about their Vision 2025 downtown planning area, which does include my rental. It's that 91st, 71st, and Elm to Lynn Lane. So I'm in there, and at that time, lodging was mentioned. This is all the way back in 2025. B&Bs were mentioned as in bed and breakfast. So if we fast forward to 2024, we know that bed and breakfasts aren't what is going on now. There's 17,000 in the U.S. There's 660,000 short-term rentals. So we can fast forward and say, looking forward, that short-term rental is a solution for lodging, and when you're doing it in a responsible way. We know that we've got a 12,000 person amphitheater coming up that's going to require some lodging, and people want to stay in the Rose District. So that's the timeline. I will go into a little bit about just our Airbnb. I don't know if you guys have stayed short-term rental or not, but we have quite a bit. First one was 2017. We stayed in Austin. It was just a rent-a-room, and we were going to check in, and I guess they weren't ready, and the child answered the door in their diaper, and my wife said, never again. We'll never be involved with short-term rentals again. Of course, that was a horrible experience. Fast forward, 2018, 2019, I'm looking around the Rose District, trying to find a good short-term rental, find one that's perfect. Our first 100 reviews were all 5 stars. I don't know if you follow Airbnbs, but you can't find a short-term rental that has 100 reviews that are 5 stars. That's my wife cleaning for 3 hours, chocolates on the pillows, 5 minutes away, anything they need. I mean, that's just the effort that we put into it. So I do want to convey that I don't personally think that we're just another short-term rental. We've had an engagement happen in our backyard. We've hosted a professional golfer, business partners here to sell their product to the surrounding area. Make-A-Wish was scheduled to have a child at our house until the doctor said that child needed to be closer to a hospital. So again, not just a typical short-term rental, not just a party house, and hopefully that's not how short-term rentals are perceived in Broken Arrow. South Beach maybe, but in Broken Arrow, hopefully not. Of course, we've never had a call on our house or disturbance. Our cleaners also would be affected from this. two ladies that work nights at Tulsa World and then clean during the day. So their income from us might be $1,000 a month just from cleaning during our busy season. So it definitely doesn't affect just us and others. And current guests have been with us 3 times. They come down every winter from Iowa and stay with us. So I just hope that you would consider that the facts of the timeline that unfortunately we haven't had a chance to be lawfully permitted, and we have an exceptional record, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So you've been operating as a short-term rental for a while, a
Yep.
long time. Okay. And so I'm assuming we did the 300, if I recall, because we didn't want a neighborhood to fill up with
Yeah.
with short-term rentals. So.
And my answer would be, it's my only short-term rental. I don't have the capital nor the desire to buy a bunch of houses. This is my only short-term rental with an exceptional record and without ever having a chance to be permitted based on city ordinances.
And whenever when we made the decision to do this, it was based on, because, you know, this is one of those things where when you think about it, it's like, okay, we'll let a homeowner do what they want with their house. But the difference is here is at the expense of ignoring all the other homeowners in that area, because we stay at VRBO and Airbnb. I mean, we've stayed them together. We everywhere we go, and I mean, we like it. But I have had a lot of feedback from citizens, from the community, saying they're not against Airbnbs or, you know, whatever, any short-term rental, but it's that they're very fearful that the neighborhoods are going to fill up with Airbnb if allowed. And I can see that happening. While you might not want to do more, if we start saying, okay, we'll just this one, we'll have a, you know, exception for just this one person, then I don't know how we justify like the next person and the next person that has a legitimate good reason that why they should have an exception. And that's my worry is, you know, 300 feet, we agreed that was a pretty good distance to have between them. I mean, there was a lot that went into making that decision. And I just, as much as I hate, like, if I own the house, that's exactly what I would want to do too. I mean, but somebody else came in and did get a permit. And so so it wasn't like you were grandfathered in that you already had a permit and let it lapse or something. It's that you never got a permit.
Because I never had an opportunity to get a permit because of the regulations. So we're talking about an impossibility.
So I wonder how many we have that are in operation right now that have been operating for years, like this scenario, that don't have a
trying
permit.
Yeah.
To that if you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we've been emailing. We have a software program that monitors postings for short-term rentals. When we see those pop up and they're habitual, we send out a courtesy letter that says, "Hey guys, you need to get a permit." Excuse me. Then if they don't comply, then they get another letter that says, "You got a court summons."
Yeah.
So this process takes time. It's not like it's overnight.
Sure.
Roughly 60 or so that have been operating in the city without a license. They've been served courtesy. There were roughly, I want to say 25 that were sent out a court summons recently because they weren't either in compliance or trying to become compliant.
So they were just not
They were just
even trying.
operating,
Okay.
correct, yeah. So that's what we try to do. When we see them pop up, we send a courtesy letter that says, "Hey guys, there's a process we need to follow." If they still don't, then they get another letter that says, "All right, it's time to take care of business here."
Is that what
So,
happened in this instance?
I can't speak to this particular instance. I don't know.
Never received a court summons.
So,
Or
do you know
the letter?
the history on the
Did you rec-
courtesy letter on that one? Do you know by chance?
It sounds like he's been trying to get a permit all along.
Yes, so Mr. Macon did request, the first step in getting the licensure is to get a zoning clearance permit, which is what we do to make sure your zoning's in compliance and make sure you meet that 300-foot radius requirement. So to my knowledge, he has not received a courtesy letter saying that he's not in compliance. He's coming to us and making a request to get into compliance. Now, when he did that, the zoning clearance permit came back that he didn't meet those requirements, not through fault of his own, but because there was an existing short-term rental within 300 feet of his property.
Okay.
Would you know when that other property, when it came into being? So he started in 2019, did he?
Looks like September of 21.
So that's, the other property was permitted September 23rd. So therefore, that would knock us out of anything going forward. I don't think they had a license until later. And I guess maybe I'm trying to be clear that like the whole time this has very much been a moving target. And I'm not that plugged into city council to know exactly when I did the research to know when everything changed. But my appeal is that we never would have had a chance based on like that parking issue. We just wouldn't have had a chance. And to clarify, no, I had a letter from the city. I don't want to mislead anyone. I had a letter, and again, it's this time we're waiting to see. And I called and talked with the city a few times, maybe 2 years ago. What's the deadline, and then kind of like what's the next step? And they wouldn't know. There wasn't a deadline set. We're just waiting kind of to get direction. Well, that letter's direction. Like we need to get a permit. Okay, these are the regulations now are different than they were 2 years ago. But someone 2 years ago was able to get a permit when I couldn't have.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate for me? Because I keep hearing you say, well, I didn't have a chance. But what was different from you than anyone else as far as having a chance? The opportunity, the guidelines were set.
Right. So if I would have applied for a permit, say, a day before the conflicting property did, that would have been denied based on parking. I would be 2 parking spaces short. There's a lot of little things that have changed. At one point, it was you had to have 3,000 square foot of lot per bedroom. Now it's 2,000. I mean, it's just been changing, and I understand that as you guys are figuring out the best way to go about. But I think the timeline's clear that it doesn't matter if I go back in time. It wouldn't change me. I'm
So
still
what,
going
you
to be
didn't have
here
a chance,
today.
you just didn't meet the requirements at that time?
I didn't meet the requirements at that time.
But you've had an Airbnb there anyway, the entire time?
Yes, I've had an Airbnb, yeah. And I think a lot of property owners have.
Right.
And again, 100 5-star review responsible Airbnb, because there was never a letter from the city that said you absolutely cannot have an Airbnb. The city was still trying to figure out what to do. Like if you tell someone, there's a way that you can work hard and make money, don't do it because there's no one's told you if you can do it or not. I mean, it's
Well, I wouldn't really use that.
I don't think you have to
use
have
that
a letter that says you
example.
can't. I mean, it's like you drive down the road and there's a sign that says speed limit is 50, but I go 75 all the time. I've never gotten a ticket. I have never been in a wreck. I've never hit anybody. I've never caused anybody else to go off the road. The law is still the law. The rule is still the rule. And just because someone hadn't sent you a letter that says, hey, you can't go over 50, even though there's a sign that says it.
Sorry to interrupt. I guess my question is, was there a law stating that you couldn't have a short-term rental?
Well, I think there were permitting procedures in place in order to have one. So if you're not meeting those permit requirements, then it would seem to be out of compliance to have one.
Okay.
Am I off there?
I'm not sure when the short-term rental ordinances, when those requirements started, because, I mean, there didn't, short-term rentals didn't used to really exist, so.
Right.
So, Amanda, you look like you know the answer to that question.
You looked at me, so I assumed you wanted me to come answer that. So short-term rentals were specifically brought up in the code in the September of 2021, August, September-ish area. During that, we were looking at, we were aware of several Airbnbs. We were getting complaints, we were getting concerns from residents. So that's why our zoning ordinance was updated to include Airbnbs. And I should say short-term rental, not Airbnb.
Right.
So in 21, we added the requirements for the square footage of the lot versus the bedrooms, parking, all of those things were put into place. So between 2021 and 2023, you could go through a specific use permit requirement. So the process for obtaining a short-term rental license then and now is a little bit different. So It was done as a zoning procedure back before the latest ordinance. So you go through a specific use permit, which is what the neighboring property did. They came before Planning Commission, City Council, notified all the property owners within 300 feet, went through the public hearing process, and ultimately got approved. Since they were approved, we have updated our zoning ordinance again, which took away some of the parking requirements, lessened those, but added in the 300-foot separation requirement. So it's kind of a progression of as we grow as a city, our ordinance has to grow with it. So proliferation of Airbnbs led to regulations. Okay, maybe these regulations aren't working out as well. The ones that were permitted through that process legally are allowed to remain as long as they stay in compliance. And then this last iteration, taking into account the distance between the Airbnbs while lessening some of the requirements like parking and that sort of thing. So it really is a timeline kind of progression of things and us trying to work with the community on how they would like these types of developments to occur.
Sure.
And we also at that time put in the rule about how I can't remember, is it 500 feet from a school? Is it 500 feet from a school that you have to do background checks?
Yes, if your property is located within 500 feet, you do have to do background checks on all your potential clients, on sex offender registry and stuff like that.
Do you have what's your distance? What's he under?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
From the conflicting property, 152 or something. It's located on Ash. I'm on Pittsburgh, so there's a house and then catty corner is the.
Okay, so it's close.
I'm inclined to allow it just because this is a unique situation and he's been in good standing, but.
Do you meet the parking requirement now for the cars?
Currently, to my knowledge, there is no parking requirement. It asks on my application parking. I informed on my application that it's a two-car stacked driveway. So there isn't a parking requirement per se. Of course, on my listing, it'll say no parking in the street, no parking in the grass.
So if that would have been in place in 2019, you would have already had a permit, but we didn't make that change.
If there was no
later.
If there was no parking, yeah, it's just been a moving target.
That's what he was trying to say.
And I'm inclined to vote against it because the reason that I was for the 300-foot thing in the first place is because of citizens reaching out to me, about this very issue of like Airbnbs being so close. And I feel like before we were to approve like this exception, I think there needs to be a notice to the neighbors.
That's what I was gonna say too, if the neighbors knew that this was, we were contemplating this.
Yeah.
They would have the opportunity to be here, and they probably would be here. And I'd be inclined, that's probably not a problem. There's one on my block, and it's the quietest house on the whole block.
Yeah.
And it has been for 2 years, so I've gotten where I don't have that major a problem. But I do think the citizens said input in that, there. And I think the neighbors would be here in opposition to that.
Or not, but we could see.
And we've had people show up
Yeah.
like to support a short-term
And
rental,
maybe
actually.
Maybe they would, as I
Yeah.
said. Almost all of my houses on one side would turn to that.
But I think that is a fair compromise to ask for. Is it, do you think?
I think Councilor Green had something. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No, the mayor made a comment that he's been in compliance this time, but he really hasn't. I'm not sure what you meant by saying that he has been, because technically he hasn't been.
The fact that he's been trying to be in compliance.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But like you said, it is a progressive thing, but as time changed, rules change. When we had horse and buggies, we didn't have speed limits. When we had 2-lane roads, we didn't have the same speed limit we did when we had 4-lane roads. So targets do move.
Yeah.
And it's not punitive. I'm not saying anything against you or that you're doing anything, that you're a bad host or owner. I'm just saying that I don't know that we can, can I really say, well, I don't think it's fair because when I had my horse and buggy, I couldn't go 80. Now they can go 80. I don't know. Just something to think about.
Well, whatever we decide, I think it needs to be a public hearing.
I would agree with
citizens
that,
need to be
at the very least.
involved with that.
Yeah.
I would say that at the very least.
So can we make a motion to do,
Just to table it.
And do an exception notice to the surrounding area?
Yes, Mayor, you may certainly do that. I would recommend that you set the date and time certain for the appeal. The ordinance under 7-475 doesn't contemplate or provide for notice, and so that wasn't required, but you may certainly table this item to a date certain and then instruct staff to, provide notice to the surrounding, whatever the radius is. We usually do 300 feet with that date, time, and certain, and then you could reconvene. And then the same issue would be before you at that time, which would be, would you grant the appeal or deny the appeal? And you could have input from the citizens at that time.
And
And
are
would
we
this be the
over
president?
500 from the school? Because I know there's a school really close.
No.
You have a case, Mayor?
I don't have a case number. I don't believe so, but staff can verify that, and
Okay.
if that's another additional requirement to the permit, I think the applicant would be agreeable to that if it's standard requirement. I will say our notice requirement is standard 300-foot radius from the property. That radius report is generally provided by the property owner, so that'll be something you guys need to determine tonight, whether you want staff to do that or if
No.
that's something the property owner
Property
needs to
owner
do.
would have to do that.
And standard notice time is 20 days. So this isn't standard.
Yeah.
So if you want it to be less, I think that's probably fine, but that's probably something we need to state.
And that will be our president's going forward on all appeals, I guess?
Yeah, I would. I would recommend that in this case, since we hadn't done this before and there hadn't been a procedure of notice to the property owners of the appeal, that there would be now a requirement to provide notice that the city would do that. And if this is a process that you'd like to follow going forward, I'd recommend that we entertain an amendment to the ordinance that would outline this procedure. But since we are, I guess in essence, calling it audible, I would recommend that the city pay for that radius report.
And I believe it'll probably be over 300 feet from the school, too. You know,
Be
you need to
500.
check that.
Yeah.
500.
I mean, 500 feet.
Yeah,
I
we
know it'd
can,
be 500.
staff can do the unofficial radius report to determine distances from property A to property B. Where the radius report is different is that's from a title or abstract company, so that's pulling from the county records to get current property owner information for those surrounding property owners, so we can notify them correctly.
Well, I just want to make sure too, you understand, just because we're going through this next step still doesn't mean it's going to be approved. I mean,
Right.
I
understand.
don't want you thinking that we're
Well,
doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would be more than happy to hear from my neighbors. I know many of them over the past 5 years, and they have phone numbers, and I'd be glad to have a sign in my yard, like the previous iterations. There was a sign in the yard stating there was going to be, so we can do a notification and a sign in the yard. That's absolutely fine with me.
In the meantime, do we allow them to continue to operate
No,
outside
it's
of
whatever
compliance?
they wanna do.
While we're waiting?
He's already been doing that for,
I
I
know,
know, it's
and
like,
that's- and
I'm a
that's
rule
the
follower,
thing.
I don't like this.
My
Well,
current-
I don't like it either, because I feel like Counselor Green mentioned, just because we can doesn't mean, I mean, there's a lot of people out there not in compliance, and
Yeah.
we're trying to figure this out.
I'd be glad to make my listing inactive. My current guests came early January, so they're over 30 days, so they don't fall in the short-term rental.
Okay.
They're winterers from Iowa, third year down here, so I technically don't have a short-term guest in, and haven't for a couple months.
Okay. All right, that would be good. So,
Did you get that statute down?
yeah, I was like, so what do I say? What motion are we making here?
Very fast.
What,
Get a motion.
my understanding
So
is,
we're moving to table, but with instruction of what you said.
yes, it would be to instruct staff to reschedule the appeal with a sufficient time for the city staff to prepare the 300-foot radius report and then provide notice to the property owner and those within the radius report of the date, time, and certain of the rescheduled hearing.
Okay.
And then we could have all the neighbors there that want to come and speak. The property owner can be there, and then you could rehear this matter and make a decision.
Okay.
But if your people move out during this, don't short-term, that's why we're doing it in the middle.
Yeah,
have
they don't
short-term.
leave until March 26th. Is there an estimated date on the next hearing?
How much time
Well, we've never done this before, so they might not have a
First meeting in
estimated
April?
date.
Usually takes a couple of weeks. And then if you guys
However long it takes them to get notified.
Would it be,
How long does
So-
it take?
Okay. What would be this next meeting?
She said the second meeting.
Okay.
How fast
well,
do
we
you
can
drive?
we move on and they can tell you, can y'all just tell him on this, we can move on and,
We were just trying to get the time frame nailed
Okay.
down.
We'd recommend, Vice Mayor, the second meeting in April.
okay,
To rehear.
okay,
Okay.
we made a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Item 8 is citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business or services. No action may be taken on matters under this item. The first one we have is from Carolyn Hubert.
I'm going to make it short and sweet. My name's Carolyn Hubert, and I live across from the events park. And it's about the amphitheater. And truthfully, I'm for the amphitheater. I'm excited about it, but the traffic is going to be a big thing there on 101st. We came to a planning commission meeting, and somebody made the comment, "We'll just add another lane. We've already got," you can't. There's no room to add another lane. So we would like to make sure that maybe, I know that the place has done all this studies and everything, and they're gonna try and get it from the amphitheater or from Highway 51 to kind of go out that way instead of, in other words, to try to keep it off of
Additional.
101st.
Yep.
So, but that was my thing about traffic. So we've lived there for 40 years. We moved there when the road was dirt. So we've seen a lot of things.
There's a portion of that feels like dirt right now.
Well, we have our
Yeah.
part
Second
from this
part.
last year, from 209th to what, 200 and whatever. I mean, we went through all that, and it's so nice. We thought it would be like, terrible, that we have sidewalks,
Yeah.
and we don't have a ditch.
Yeah.
It has to be mowed, so, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll just share that we are, you're going to talk
ahead,
about the
Mayor. Go ahead.
investment. I was just going to say, we are putting about 28 million in infrastructure improvements. So additional exits and entrances to keep people off 101st for the most part, including what they call, I guess, a pigtail onto the creek.
Great.
And so that'll divert them off of the 101st as well. So, do you want to add anything?
Sure. I mean, you covered it, Mayor, but let me just color it in just a little bit. Mr. Schwab and I met with representatives from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation last Thursday, February 29th, to specifically talk about the potential turnaround from within the park to get on to the Creek Turnpike. And that portion of the meeting went very, very well. In fact, discussions are going to be going on in terms of the development of the agreement and determining about going for construction. So there's some details have to be worked out, but that's going to be one major reliever. And the resident is correct, is that the other part of the discussion was the new road that the city will be building from Gary Street to the north to tie that into Highway 51. As you know, the state has already let the contract, or will be shortly, to actually realign that intersection. And there are some additional improvements we'd like to see, which right now there's a little bit of a challenge there, but we'll see if we can work through there. But that road does include a connection to the parking lot and another way into the amphitheater. And so that's the other thing. And then the city is going to be putting an additional lane on the south side from Creek Turnpike entrance to address the stacking, because obviously all those folks coming in probably a 2 to 3 hour window, we need to make sure that it's clear and safe for those people that live there as well as those going to the amphitheater. So I think with the improvements we're making along, and then obviously traffic management is incredibly important in terms of moving the vehicles. But everything's really coming together in terms of the timing so we can move forward and start construction this summer.
Thank you. Pam Schultz?
evening. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. The city knows our many concerns. I'm Pam Schultz, and from our meeting in January, thanks for that opportunity. You know, we were asked to come in and speak, and I'm hoping that maybe you all have seen those concerns. Mr. Spurgeon, do you know if they have seen my concerns from that meeting that we had?
I think we were all there.
Yeah.
We were there. We were all there.
Yes, ma'am. No, when we came into the office, do you know?
Ms. Hill has those. I can get those. They were similar, essentially, what was discussed at the meeting,
Okay, okay.
as well as what was discussed at the Planning Commission meeting.
We asked the city to look for another location. We're not opposed to the amphitheater. We think Broken Arrow getting the amphitheater is great. It's just the location and the direction that it's turned. But we've noticed that, you know, it's already started construction, it seems like, so we know that there's still going to be an amphitheater there. We asked the city in Notes Live to please turn the amphitheater to the north instead of the northeast, right towards us. Mr. Mudd at the last meeting said they are putting the amphitheater northeast because the higher frequency sounds are facing towards an industrial park. But we live right next to that industrial park, and then there's a housing addition. There's also a school in that direction. Why do we not matter? This amphitheater is adversely going to affect us and others with sound, traffic, and hopefully not safety. There are no homes north of the amphitheater. Why not face the amphitheater north instead of northeast so the loudest sound and frequency won't be directed right towards us? Can someone please explain to us what the difference is between a loud neighbor disturbing the peace and the amphitheater bringing noise into our homes and disturbing the peace? How is that acceptable and any different? Mr. Mudd mentioned he didn't grow up in the music business. Notes Live hasn't even opened an amphitheater yet. That's why we are so concerned. The studies that they've done are all only speculations and not facts. So when the speculations don't hold true, who do the citizens of Broken Arrow contact? Do you all know?
Us.
Yes, you can contact us here on the city council, and I can tell you from experience, because I am a musician, and the studies that they refer to is not just theory. They're based on actual factual information, because there are other venues. Just because they haven't opened one doesn't mean there's not other venues. There's amazing technology out there where you can control sound, you can angle sound, and the way that the amphitheater is designed, there's been a lot of thought and detail go into this, and we definitely understand your concern, and we validate that concern. And I can assure you that we've all thought about the city staff that's working on this project, the assistant city managers, and everyone from Notes Live has thought about this thoroughly and are doing our best to ensure that it's not going to disturb the neighbors. If after this is done, if there are still issues that you would like to bring up, we are here and we will listen, and we will do our best to assuage those.
Thank you. I just want to say that we would like to ask the city to please protect the citizens of Broken Arrow from the amphitheater getting the sound into our homes and disturbing the peace. Will performers be allowed to use their own speakers and their own sound equipment?
Everything will be regulated.
I mean,
That's
does
right.
Mr. Mudd maybe know the answer to this one?
I don't believe so. I think they're going to be, well, whatever they're going to be using for their performances, that's what they're
But the
going to be
sound is
using.
regulated by
I mean, because he's always been saying, you know, his speakers and his sound equipment are state-of-the-art. That's why we're not going to be able to hear it at our homes. But our concerns is if they do allow the bands to use their own speakers and their own sound equipment, you know, how are they going to regulate that? Does that mean my time is up? Or almost? I thought I had 3 minutes.
You had 3 minutes, yes.
Okay. Is there a way the city would be able to know what the sound effects detection devices are saying about the DBAs for each concert, so you will know what is going on and what the nearby houses are having to deal with?
Do you want to send those questions to us and we can get the answers for you?
I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you. On the diagram, the sound leaving the amphitheater, Mr. Mudd mentioned in the last meeting that the study was done on only the average of the dBA of a performance. So my first question would be, what was that average, and why did he not use the 105 dBA, which would be in the most that would be coming out of the amphitheater? So we would know the worst case scenario and just not the average. Second, can the worst case scenario be provided? And I would hoping that maybe Notes Live, like they said in the meeting to us after the meeting, they said that they would help us in the first meeting, and we're just wondering if maybe they would lower the speakers or the dBA for the performances so we cannot hear the amphitheater in our homes. And I was hoping that they would, give us a contact from Notes Live to help us with any sound issues that we have. We just want the same peace and quiet in our homes as everybody wants in their homes. And I just
If you'll
thank you.
submit those to us, we can get some answers for you.
Thank you so much.
I believe Mr. Mudd in that meeting mentioned a cap on the decibel level that they would allow the music to be played at the amphitheater. And I definitely hear and validate what you're saying, but
Right.
just as you say that his research is hypothetical right now, that the noise coming to your home is hypothetical because we haven't had it there yet, so.
It's the diagram, it would have been nice to see, at that 105 dBA, how far that dBA is going out compared to our home since we're so close. But with it just being the average, I don't know that really showed by us anything anyway. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, a lot of these questions will be answered under item 9C. That's part of the PUD and the plat, and Mr. Mudd and Charlie Bright are here to possibly answer a lot of these questions for you.
And then the final citizen is Julia Weir. Maybe? Yes. Good evening. Hi.
Okay. The Postal Service, the United States Postal Service has announced plans to move mail processing operations from the Tulsa Processing and Distribution Center, which is also known as the PNDC, to the Oklahoma City Processing and Distribution Center. The change would result in all originating mail, including local-to-local mail, being trucked to Oklahoma City for processing. Mail destined to local delivery would then be trucked back to the Tulsa PNDC for the final sortation and delivery. The USPS claims there will be no changes in the local mail service. However, some of what is known about the plan brings that into question based on the following. Tulsa currently processes incoming mail, which is mail from all across the country, originating mail, which is business and personal mail generated locally, and destinating mail, which is mail that would be delivered locally. The plan to send originating mail, including local-to-local mail across the state, a minimum 250 round-trip miles to perform sortation tasks that the Tulsa PNDC has been performing locally for 50 years. The Tulsa PNDC has the equipment, staffing, and capability of sorting the mail here, keeping local mail in the local area. The Tulsa PNDC currently processes mail for zip codes beginning with 740, 741, 743, 744, 745, 746, 747, 749, as well as incoming mail from across the country. There are also concerns that Oklahoma City PNDC does not have the capacity to take this additional volume of mail. Optimized collections would end nightly pickup of mail for local post offices. Instead, mail will sit overnight at local post offices before being collected the following day for processing. This will delay the mail by at least a day. Whether current employees are impacted or not, the change will result in postal jobs leaving the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. The loss of these jobs would negatively impact municipal tax revenues as well as revenue for local restaurants and businesses. The Postal Service has scheduled a public meeting to be held on March 7th, 2024, at 3 p.m. at the Hardesty Regional Library located at 8316 East 93rd Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The APW encourages residents to attend this meeting and voice their concerns, opinions, and misgivings over the plan. There is going to be an impact for the city financially and delay the mail service for a minimum of a day, which would mean if you mail a letter to go across town, it may take 2 days at minimum, more likely to be 3 days to reach the destination with no delays. We would like for you to tell the USPS that you do not support the plans that may result in eroding or slowing down mail service for residents in the northeastern Oklahoma. Okay.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your concerns or your consideration in joining us in the fight to maintain our current level of service in northeastern Oklahoma, and thank you for this opportunity to speak today.
Is there a way, can we get some information on that?
Yes.
That way we can.
I did hear that. And
Yeah, I have a
believe they
flyer
said
here I
that
can-
They said that the closest backup to Oklahoma City would be Houston.
Correct. Yeah, the Tulsa has always been Oklahoma
This is
City's backup,
messed
and
up.
Oklahoma City has always been Tulsa's backup,
Right.
and we run about the same mail volume. So they're
Right.
going to double their mail volume, and it's going to really overload them. And if they have any outages, then it's going to be transferred to the regional facility in Texas, in Houston.
Would this be something the congressman that we're visiting next week could
Yeah,
help us
that we can
with? So
discuss.
if we could get it
Yes.
like as soon as possible, because we're going to be in DC and we will advocate for this.
Yeah, I have these, I can give you these, this is just a little bit of information, but I can send you more information to your email.
That'd be
Do you want
great.
me
I'll take that now.
Yeah, I've been seeing this all over social media, except when it was shut down for a while today.
We'll make
But
copies if.
it's very
Okay.
interesting. At first, I thought it was just one of those things that
Thank you.
it was just a social media thing, and it maybe wasn't true, but it's true. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for bringing that to the attention of us. All right, item 9A is consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute project financing, subcontracting, and construction agreement with the City of Broken Arrow and the Indian Nations Council of Governments for Safe Streets for All 2022. Zach Smith.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Mr. Spurgeon. For your consideration is an agreement between the City of Broken Arrow and the Indian Nations Council of Governments, INCOG, for a Safe Streets for All grant implementation program. This grant is for low-cost, high-impact traffic safety devices such as possible new intersections, new hawk signals, flashing yellow arrows for intersections, and backer plates as possibly other devices. The City of Broken Arrow match is $1 million with approximately $111,250 for design purposes, with the remaining amount to go for construction. INCOG will be administering the design contract with the City of Broken Arrow administering any construction. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any discussion? Questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I just love hawk beacons. I'm glad that we're getting more of them in our city. I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right, 9B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute Resolution 1560, a resolution of the Broken Arrow City Council for the purchase of 3.6 acres of real property located at 130 East Washington Street. Norm Stevens.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Mr. Spurgeon, Council. Recently, the city manager directed staff to begin negotiations to purchase 3.06 acres located east of Main Street and north of Washington. The 3.06 acres does not include the northeast corner, the hard corner of Main Street in Washington. The property was originally appraised on behalf of the city on January 25th, 2024 by Valbridge Property Advisors and in the amount of $655,000. The listed sale price was $750,000. through negotiations, we were able to get that price that the owner of the property accepted at $725,000. The close proximity to Arrowhead Complex and the senior center make it very beneficial for future municipal use. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have a question. I think it's a very good buy. You know, we might not have the hard corner, but it's still the gateway, you know, coming into the city of Broken Arrow, and it is contingent to our senior center and especially the softball complex also.
Yes, sir.
So I would make a motion that we approve resolution number 1560.
A second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 9C, consideration, discussion, and approval of PUD 1265-2024. Grant Rissler.
Good evening again. Before you tonight, we have for consideration the PUD and the plat for the project known as Sunset. We have the applicant here, Charlie Bright, the Director of Engineering, to represent, and he's also brought Bob Mudd if you have any questions for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members.
Director.
Thank you, and Mr. Spurgeon. As
Can I
said,
just go ahead and make an announcement real quick?
Yes.
So I was going to wait till we got to the city manager's comments. I'm pleased to announce that last Friday, Charlie Bright was promoted to the position of Director of Engineering and Construction. So congratulations. I want to say Charlie actually made the selection process pretty easy. He did a great job in the interview. But in talking to Kenny Schwab, his direct boss, I wrote Charlie and just said that Charlie's dedication to duty, his accomplishments the last 5 years, and just his earnest desire for this position made it him the right choice. And he has done quite a bit, and I couldn't be more excited for him and his family. Longtime Broken Arrow resident. He's ready to go to work, so go to work.
I think he's been working.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that and appreciate the opportunity. So, Charlie Bright, Director of Engineering and Construction. So here tonight, we're here to present, as Grant mentioned, the PUD and the plat for the Sunset Amphitheater. As you guys know, this is an agreement that we've been working on for 6 months now. We signed an economic development agreement with Notes Live that says that they will provide an amphitheater with 12,500 people. The city of Broken Arrow will provide the surrounding infrastructure. We have been working diligently with our consultant, Kinley Horn, and we have finished the plat and the PUD and here to present it tonight. I think there's just a few exceptions in the PUD that we're asking for. One is the advertisements in the ordinance. Currently, we have no off-site advertisements on highways or anything else in the city of Broken Arrow's moratorium against that. There is an exception for this facility because that was agreed upon as one of their revenue models for the facility, so they will be putting up a billboard facing the highway. There's still some terms we're going to work out with Notes Live on that. There's some exceptions where we're not putting sidewalks on commercial streets that normally required on both sides, but it's intentional because we're trying to socially engineer where people walk, and so you don't want to put a sidewalk everywhere because we're trying to guide people in a certain direction. I think those are the biggest exceptions, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have on this, and as you said, Mr. Mudd is in the audience today and can answer as well as our consultant, Kinley Horn.
Any questions?
I'm glad we're not building sidewalks that we don't need.
Yeah. Most definitely.
For sure. I don't have any questions.
Do you have any?
Nope.
Okay.
Mr. Spurgeon, do you have a comment?
Mayor, we had a couple of questions, so I might see if Mr. Budd can come up and answer any of those questions, knock those out. Yeah, give him an opportunity. Anything that he doesn't answer, he may need more information, we can get back to council.
Regarding the direction of.
Direction
Of
and
the
the
amphitheater.
resident, Ms. Schultz had spoke.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Mudd's definitely the best one to answer several of those questions. I will say on just strictly the direction, when it was asked about north, because we were the original ones to lay it out, the facility does not fit facing directly north. It's too wide on the angles. If, in a perfect world, if it could go directly north, I think that would be the best case situation. But for what we had, we either need to be northeast or northwest. And those were really the two considerations we had. But Mr. Mudd's probably better for answering most of the other questions.
Congratulations. Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Mr. Spurgeon, thank you for the opportunity. There were two questions, and if I recall, there may be more. I'm happy to answer them. The first was related to the speakers, and artists do require their specific types of speakers at times and sound systems. But at the end of the day, what we agreed to was the mounting height of those speakers, which drive the propensity of the sound, the nature in which they're formed, which has two components, which is a line array speaker, which are around it, and also using delay clusters to service the back of the amphitheater so we're not having to push all of the power from the stage. We've also agreed to put sound detection devices, and at the request of the school, we've also adjusted our starting hours for sound checks during certain periods of the year. In terms of the DBA, we did use, DBA is effectively an averaging. It's called an A-weighted standard. And it is the most common use by law and by practice of measuring the impact of sound on surrounding neighborhoods. We did do it at a typical show high level, which is 100 dBA at the front of house. So if you go to a concert, you know where they're mixing the sound on behalf of the artists. We are measuring what would that look like in and around the neighborhoods and the environmental impact at 100 dBA. And that is the sound studies that we have provided. We also provided sound studies that were in the form of L90 and L10, which accommodates for much higher levels of sound and what that propensity would be. And we have agreed to put caps in the riders with the artists that mandate our ability to operationally intervene if they were to go above the sound requirements that we've committed to. And so we certainly want to be great neighbors. We did consider, at the request of a number of neighbors, we looked at a footprint using some sound mapping technology that we paid for after Planning Commission to assess the number and impact of the different directions of the amphitheater, and we do believe the northeast disposition is by far the most suitable for the amphitheater going forward. Were there any other questions?
One question was about, will you be measuring the sounds during events? So if the city was to say that sound, or if someone was to say that approach the city was exceeding that, we'd be able to respond?
And we would be happy to provide quarterly reports or monthly reports of that. It's monitored continuously. It is also fed back in. If you look at the facility on the right side, there's an operations center, and so there's two places where those sound detection devices go. One is to the front of house, which is where the sound guys are. The other is to the operational center, which is adjacent to where actually the police station that we're incorporating into the facility would be included. So we'll have operational controls and we'll have reporting.
That's it. Is that,
Okay.
did I cover them?
There was one more question, I think, which related to a report that you gave at the Planning Commission. Some kind of report. I'm gonna have to.
I shared the sound maps at the Planning Commission, which were initial sound maps showing the east and northeast and northwest disposition.
Okay.
So those I walked the Planning Commission through. Okay. Thank you. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
She has a question.
Okay.
Mr. Mudd, the one question was if the sound is coming in our home, would Notes Live be willing to lower the dBA or the speakers, sound speakers, so that it wouldn't come into our home?
We've made specific commitments related to that. That's, to me, a bit of a subjective request. I'm not sure what that means, because we hear traffic on roads and so forth. We've been very specific in our commitments, and we will stand by the commitments that we've made in the plan, in the PUD. And we are definitely open to feedback. If there are things that we can do better in the context of what we've agreed to, we are always going to have an open ear to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve PUD 001-265-2024 and PR 000-497-2023.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. Items 10 is preview ordinances. 10A is consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance of the City of Broken Arrow amending Chapter 6, Section 6-22, 6-46, 6-96, 6-97, 6-130, 164, 301, the Code of Ordinances.
Apologies for that.
Thank you for that.
Essentially what we're trying to do here, right now, we have in our ordinance, if you're a contractor or tradesperson, you get licensed at Broken Arrow, you're required to put money in an escrow account. With our new system, we're able to, if you don't pay your fee, we don't issue your C of O, or we don't issue your final inspection or whatever. So it's really kind of redundant. And what we found is we have a lot of contractors that come in and they're not from this area, so they've got to get registered, and they've got to put up a $500 escrow to do one job in Broken Arrow. Or we have people that are a pretty small company and they only do a few jobs a year in Broken Arrow. So the thought process here is we're not doing away with escrow, because some of our bigger contractors, they like that escrow option. They'll dump a few $1,000s in there and just say, hey, take it out of my escrow. We don't want to take that away from them. We just want to take away the requirement that you have to put money in that escrow and then never use it. So that's what we're attempting to do with this. And the reason there's so many different sections there is because they address plumbers, electricians, and we just try to catch it all at once.
I read through this. I thought it was really great. I remember back even years, a long time ago, that we used to have the escrow account and make sure you've got the money in it, for the inspections and whatever. So I'm really excited that this is coming about. So I'd make a motion to approve all these numbers the mayor just mentioned.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 10B, consideration, discussion, and possible preview of ordinance number 3825. Green.
So I'm back again. So this time, we have public parking signs that were installed in the Rose District last fall, if you'll recall. What we're asking for here is basically no overnight parking on Friday nights in the parking lot directly west of the Museum BA, because when they park overnight in that parking lot, our farmers market vendors can't set up the next morning. Or we end up with a car stuck there. Somebody shows up to get it in the middle of the market and they try to leave. We've got vendors in place, and we had this happen a couple of times last year just in that few months. We had a vehicle that was abandoned there for a few weeks. So we've been working with ENC, and if this is approved, we'll modify that signage just for that parking lot.
So the museum would still be able to park there until midnight then on Friday night, is that correct?
They can, yes, exactly, until midnight Friday night.
Right.
So we're just trying to eliminate that one night of the week. We kicked around the idea, to be honest, of, certain months of the year, but honestly, by the time we put the ice rink in there for the fall market, you get about 2.5 to 3 months of the year that you could use it, and that's just going to confuse people by switching it back and forth.
Right.
So the easy option there for everybody to keep it consistent was to say, look, Friday night's no parking.
Yeah. So there'll be a sign?
Yes,
that says-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of other places if you need to park on Friday night, you can.
Sure. Yeah, we don't want to discourage you. I mean, if you look just to the west of there off of Ash, we have a huge parking lot there you can park overnight in.
Does the History Museum have any problems with it? We're gonna be taking up part of that anyway for a building.
I'd like to ask a question.
Could the museum staff have?
Yeah, we kind of set a precedent tonight.
On down the line, could we have a parking permit that says we're okay?
To park overnight? Or are there situations where you need to leave your vehicle there overnight? Oh, wait, we're not banning anyone from
this is
parking
just
there.
overnight.
Just overnight.
This is just Friday night from midnight, yeah.
I won't be there overnight.
Yeah, I know, you're not gonna be there overnight.
That's a dedicated volunteer right
If you want to stay the
there.
night, park in the front on Main Street.
That's
Should be
right.
fine.
Okay.
No one will be there.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
I'll make,
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
I'll second.
Sorry, Johnny.
I'm leaving.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Can't stop me from
It's
voting.
like not at the museum. There's somebody there all night long.
There may be.
There's a light going by the window.
There are no city ordinances, remarks and governing, or inquiries by governing body members. We will be leaving for DC, some of us on Sunday, I think some on Monday, but we'll be there for the week for a congressional cities conference that we go to each year. It's through National League of Cities, and we all serve on different boards and commissions. So we'll have meetings with our different advocacy groups, and then we'll also be on the Hill on Wednesday, meeting with our legislators. So it's a great meeting each year to be able to go to DC and meet with them, so.
Yes.
We're
looking forward
leaving
to
with the U City Council at 5 in the morning on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm leaving at 5 in the morning on Sunday.
You leaving at 5 in the morning?
Sunday, yeah.
You're going Saturday?
I'm on Saturday night.
Yeah. So that'll be great. And we'll have good things to report when we come back. And then we won't have another city council meeting before a really great street festival coming up on March 16th, Shamrock the Rose. So we invite you guys all out. We have really great bands. Western Horn and the Hush is going to be playing. They're amazing. So, and it's all a benefit for Soldier's Wish and Eagle Up. So we'd love for everyone to come out.
And I think we're gonna have beautiful weather.
I
I
think
keep
we are.
watching it. I'm like, we keep,
I don't know if there's
it
any
looks
wood around here.
70s. I'm
We've
hoping.
never had like a clear forecast like it has been.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it should be
it's gonna be
good.
good.
So, anyone else?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have something.
So, Justin reminded me recently, he didn't really have to remind me, but I've always, for a long, long time, I've read from the Constitution. And so I'm starting over because I basically got through the whole Constitution and then went through a lot of other stuff. And so, so I'm starting back over. With the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance or grievances. And I think we've been a really great example of that tonight, of that, respecting, free speech and listening to each other. And, here, there's some things, sometimes people say things you don't agree with. And sometimes, the government has to sit and listen while people tell us those things. So I'm really proud of our city and the fact that we can come and assemble and speak peacefully to each other, even when we don't, maybe we agree most of the time, but the few times we don't agree, we can still have good discussion. So, good stuff.
I just want to share last night, Broken Arrow Police Department, Broken Arrow Public Schools, and a lot of other people had a great human trafficking presentation. And if you missed it, it's on the Facebook, Broken Arrow Police Department's Facebook page. And it was really, really good. Very, very well attended. All council was there. And it was very well attended. I was very impressed by the speakers. They're very passionate, and I loved
And have
that.
amazing tips and education on what parents should be looking for with their kiddos.
Yeah.
You could tell they knew what they were talking about.
Yes. Since Councilor Ford took mine.
We'll jump in, Justin.
Right. I will say, also, this is Read Across America week in our public schools, and I had the privilege of reading to a bunch of second graders this morning, and myself, along with some of Chief Berryhill's guys, and will be reading tomorrow, actually at my wife's school, to more elementary school students. So,
Did they want your autograph? Because they all wanted my autograph.
Oh, they asked me if I was the mayor.
He says not yet.
I mean, I wasn't gonna put that out there, but since you brought it up.
I mean, I'm reading Friday, so I'm really excited. It's so fun. They are so
yesterday.
excited.
It was fun.
I mean, it's just my second favorite thing other than giving dictionaries from Rotary to the
There you
third
go.
graders. They are so excited to have visitors read to them.
Yes, you are.
I
And
read to
thank
Linwood
you
on
for
Monday
the
and
cups.
wore PJs to, it was PJ Day at Timber Ridge, so I had to
And that would be
participate,
my
so,
wife's school.
yeah. But I didn't see her, I missed her.
You should have read today. You could have been in jammies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin didn't wear jammies out of the house. I do have a cat in a hat that I wear when I read.
Nice.
Very, very
Nice.
festive.
So, anyone else? Now we're all thinking of Counselor Green and his jammies. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's not do that.
City manager.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, members of council. Three things. Next week is budget week for fiscal year 2025, so we'll be spending the whole week with
like
the
we were just
directors. It goes quickly.
Yeah.
Quick. Looking forward to looking at the proposals from the directors, and as well as recommendations on many different things that are going on. And then we will look to have the traditional budget hearings sometime, probably go with two like we did to break things up. We'll take a look and I'll get some feedback in May as we do. So that process, the budget process is year round, especially for finance. So looking forward to next week. Secondly is the survey closed last Thursday, and Aaron informed me that we received over 3,900 responses for the survey. And I could be off a little bit, but over 3,000 of those were from Broken Arrows. 3,600 of the 39 came from folks that live here in town. We were shooting for 3,500, so we far exceeded that. So that just, believe me, that took time. I mean, it was a good 15 to 20 minute survey. And so I was very, very proud, and I knew the council would be, and people took the time to do that. Very consistent. The housing study got a large number too, so it's really good that our Broken Arrows, they engage. Aaron and the consultant will be consolidating the results, and then we'll be giving those to council tentatively in April to look at those. Looking forward to sharing those with the council. And then third, I just wanted to mention publicly on behalf of the council to the community is that on February 22nd and 23rd, the vice mayor and I on Thursday, the 22nd, and then the evening of the 22nd and the morning of the 23rd, the mayor joined us. We had a chance to visit with the Russo Board, which is a regional university systems of Oklahoma, and that is the governing body, the regents, over NSU and the other 5 public universities here in Oklahoma. And we were there to discuss with the subcommittee on the 22nd and on the 23rd with the full Board of Regents, and make a request that they do what is necessary legally or politically to allow NSU to transition to become a traditional 4-year university. And we presented them with statistics, with comments about the growth of the community, the growth of our school district, where that growth is heading. And I believe that the comments that were made on behalf of the council were very impactful. And so next week I'll be meeting with Dr. Hanley to discuss next steps. At some point, either the next meeting on the 19th or the first meeting in April, I anticipate bringing forth a resolution to the council for your consideration that just memorializes our continued support and request that the Russo Board continue to pursue with the State Board of Higher Education how they transition NSU. So I want to show our support. There's probably other steps we'll be taking. The Vice Mayor and I 100% agreement. We're going to put a PowerPoint presentation together with facts and figures on our community, especially with our school district and its growth, its experience. So, and the other thing I was going to ask the council to do, just for your thought, I would like for the council to create a subcommittee of the full council, just 2 of you, maybe an alternate, to be a subcommittee on a higher education subcommittee. So if there's a need to meet with other Russo members or the USRE board, is that if they need us somewhere, then the one or both, or if the alternate obviously would be able to go along with myself to basically represent the city's position. So we're going to have some more detailed discussion. We're going to partner with NSU as well as hopefully the Russo board to continue to move this forward. So I don't know if the mayor or vice mayor would like to share anything.
I started to say something, I was like, no, I already talked about the Constitution, so I won't say anything, but Mayor, I'll let you go.
No, I thought it was great to be able to be in front of them, and it's long overdue, and they made some really great statistical points that the Russo universities are what are producing our workforce within our state. And
Yes.
the fact that Broken Arrow does not have a four-year university, and our kiddos are leaving, and we could do something about that, I think they got that. And then not to mention Wagner County, so my kiddos didn't get to go to Tulsa Achieves or take advantage of TCC, all three of them, because we're in Wagner County, and obviously Wagner has to put into that, right? But they all went to Broken Arrow schools, and they did not get to participate in the Tulsa Achieves. So we kind of pointed those things out as well.
Right.
So it was a good
Over
discussion.
1/3 of Broken Arrow Public School students live in Wagner County. 35% of Broken Arrow Public Schools students. And for those of you in the audience and those of you listening, I'm sure there's many of you that didn't realize that NSU, Broken Arrow, or any other school in this area is not allowed to offer first and second year courses. So if you are wanting to go to college, you have one choice. You have private, you could go to TU or ORU, or you can go to TCC. The other option is you leave our town. And not just leave our town, leave our region. So our population decreases after kiddos turn 20 because many of our kids are leaving and then they don't come back. Because they get a job or they meet, someone that they're going to marry that doesn't live in our area. And many of them come back when they want to have kids. But we lose people between 20 to 35. And it's in direct correlation, I believe, with this problem. And it's a legislative issue that I plan to take up. So.
But I appreciate the council's support. I mean, I kept everyone informed of what's going on. I really would like to have as the mayor mentioned, our voice continue to be heard. And we have a lot of success with subcommittees and making sure that a couple of you could be there, one of you. And obviously, that's something you'd have to decide on, and you can't have a quorum because then we'd have to advertise, and I don't think that's the goal. But I think it's all of you are very active in wanting to make sure that you're advocating for what's best for Broken Arrow, and I think we believe that this is for the future of Broken Arrow. It's very important. So, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. So we do have an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to take a recess to go into Bama and Beta.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Here.
Here.
Here?
Here?
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call.
We're not up yet.
Yeah, we're still.
We're slowing down.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, Lisa, we're just moving right along.
Right.
We have no public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, or awards. No general authority business. Remarks from governing body members?
No, ma'am.
City Manager?
Madam Chair, just similar with the general government, we will be working on the Bama budget next week as well. That's all I have.
We have no executive session.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Good. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call.
Here.
Here?
Here.
Here?
Here. Are there any consent agenda items to be removed?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. We have no public hearings, no general authority business. Any remarks from governing body members? Commander?
I do, Madam Chair. I think at the next meeting, Jennifer Rush, our Economic Development Director, is going to give us an update on Aspen Ridge. I believe that's coming up.
Okay.
But I wanted to share with you tonight some good news, is that Chick-fil-A will be open sometime in early May. So the construction continues to where they're just a couple of months away till they'll be open. Exact date, I don't have that yet, but I found that out just right before the council meeting. So that's another business opening up. And also that Jennifer and her team have worked very hard, and there were some wording and some deed restrictions that need to be resolved with Lowe's in order for the Adams Creek development to go forward. And it looks like Jennifer has resolved those for the most part to be able to assure that development, hopefully start construction sometime this year. So we continue to follow up. That's made some follow-up to the TIF that the council approved, and obviously getting their financing and their plans in place and so forth. But that was a major hurdle we had to get over, and I believe that's has and or will be cleared. So I just want to thank Jennifer and her team for getting that done.
Pretty excited about that Chick-fil-A. I'm sure everyone on South Side is.
And I just think, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I got to go to Atlanta and visit the headquarters a couple of weeks ago, and that was pretty cool. It's not about the chicken. Who knew? Their whole concept.
Jennifer, do you want to make your presentation tonight?
I'm just thinking cha-ching, cha-ching, all those soccer players not going to Memorial, they're going to go straight north on
That's
Aspen.
for sure.
My budget's not excited about it because my children love it.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. There is no executive session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. Entertain a motion to take a brief recess to go into executive session.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Green. Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Gillespie.
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. I'm going to clear the room for a